Yeah, man, welcome back up in our Sinting, the real Jamaican Sinting with me, Mr. Washbelly, Ragashanti, blessings and respect to all massive, all crew. Enough respect indeed. And right now, you don't know, say, Wednesday morning and on Wednesday morning, or one, we look a feature and talk up the thing straight. And to talk up the thing straight with us this morning, we have none other than the man himself, Senior Superintendent Renato De Cordova Valentino CMU Manayati Valley Adams. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Jamaica.
Yes.
Brother Raga, how you doing?
Boy, listen, a day I give thanks. I am blessed. I have a lot to be thankful for. I am a happy man, and I feel good. I feel positive. I feel confident, and I am very, very thankful.
Like me too, because what I'm seeing on the world stage now with Obama, with all these progressive people going forward in Jamaica, everywhere, everybody's going forward. Which, even though we have people who are negative and trying to destroy our efforts, but we're going to leave them back and go straight forward.
Right. What do you think about that with that situation with Obama? I mean, there are quite a few people who have apprehensions about him moving forward, and they're saying that the United States is simply not ready for a black president. But at the same time, there are many things that have happened throughout our history, that we have benefited from. That if the people at that time were saying that the nation or the country or the society was not ready for it, we wouldn't be enjoying the benefits of them moving forward bravely. What do you think about some of the concerns with Obama, stepping into the arena right there for the presidency of the United States of America?
Yes, well, there are many concerns, but let me tell you, not even the people going to stop this. It's a design thing by God. It's a divine thing designed by God. It's a time again when people of color are going to take their place in the world again, and it's gonna happen. It's just automatic.
Okay,
it's a miracle. Don't care what they do, it's not gonna stop. And not that we don't love other people. We love white, brown, every other color.
Right.
But it's about our time now, because we have been, slavery has taken 400 years of our freedom, our going forward, and we have to catch up. We don't have much time. We have to catch up right now.
Right. Tell me, we're watching this in the United States, and the United States, their media, the information network, unfortunately dominates the media of the developing world, including our country, Jamaica, right here. And we know you're looking issue with them and things. They take away visa. And you get back a visa? You get back the visa?
No, not at all. I have not applied. They asked me to reapply, but I am not interested. Jamaica is my home.
Okay.
Jamaica is where I love. Jamaica, as I said, when they took it away, it's like the Garden of Gethsemane, man. This is where glory, this is where love, this is where respect for people. Irrespective of we having our little problem here and there and so on. But this is a place I would want to be for the rest of my life, and even in eternity.
But Renato, I'm a virgin of all our reasoning and thing, and he must say, what Jamaicans don't really pick up is a very dangerous kind of brainwashing that's a result from cultural diffusion and so forth, migration trends and the media and so forth, essentially defining ideology in our country and so forth. And theme argument is this: that there's nothing wrong with going to the United States, there's nothing wrong with going to England. But unfortunately, it is such that Jamaicans now believe that if they do not have a connection with the United States or England, that somehow they're at a loss. And then forget that there are thousands of other beautiful, wonderful, interesting places in the rest of the world. What do you think about that?
Of course, you are perfectly right. I mean, England, America, all those places are going down now. France are going down now. Africa is growing. The Middle East, although they have their problems there. Asia, all of these places are going forward. And what is important is the dignity with which they are developing these nations. You go there, you have to be highly disciplined. You have to work hard. The education system there is revolutionized, and people, you're not obstructed in what you want to do. Latin America, Central America, we have Venezuela coming on scene. We have Cuba, who has set an example in the world where medicine, education, security, one of the most secured countries in the world right now is Cuba. And people are learning now that America as in North America, England, France, all these places do not necessarily have all the answer anymore. You see, China is growing, India is growing, everywhere now is growing strongly. You know, you have Botswana in Africa, you have all these places growing. South Africa, we have our little problems based on sometimes we are being sabotaged and all that. I just want to tell the Jamaican people that, listen, we just have to stay here and build this place. You know, I have known of a particular gentleman. He was in England for 40 years, and he was dying. And he said to his friend, listen, I need to go home to Jamaica now. If it's even on the plane wing, I'm to fly. Get me a seat. Anyway,
but some Jamaicans have a problem with that, you know. That is when people ready for dead, them want to come back.
But you see, they recognize probably from a long time that they want to come.
Okay.
But they have gone to this as they thought it was land of paradise and milk and honey flowing. And when they reached there, they found out it wasn't so. And they never had any more savings. So some would have wanted to come back, but they didn't have anything. And you know, it's an embarrassment. And they rather that they were waiting to win the lottery or the lotto or something to come home. But it never materialized. But Jamaicans must understand that the best place in the world, billions of dollars are being spent by other countries to come to Jamaica and in the Caribbean and the rest of the world to enjoy themselves, to get the sun, the sea, the tranquility that exists here, the love of the people, the food, the birds, the mountains, the hills, the valleys, everything that exists here is the best in the world.
Okay. Listen,
and for me and my retirement, I just want to stay here. I'm going to my little corner in St. Elizabeth and just relax myself, live life, drive around, do some farming, do some everything, you know.
Right.
And not in a strenuous way, just probably for entertainment and to keep myself fit and you know.
Right, but we're going to get to the retirement part. But I noticed that when we were talking about Obama, you invoked God, and you said that this is a divine intervention. This is God's word, and can't stop it and thing. And this suggests that you have a fairly I don't want to use the word fairly and be presumptuous to an attempt to define your relationship with God. Could you tell us what is your relationship with God?
Okay, well, my relationship with God. First, I don't join any church at all. They are too complex, and everybody is preaching. What I designed for myself, I am a religious man as it relates to believing in a supreme being, somewhere elsewhere, doing things for us every day. What we are seeing, it could not only be science, it could not only be coincidental. It's something designed by a supreme being, and I believe in that. And that has made me come to the conclusion that whenever that supreme being rises his or her head with a view of making sure that justice is served to whether it's a nation, an individual, a country, or animals, or trees for that matter, he comes and it is done. And in the case of Obama, he himself is surprised, you know. He himself, he has not said it to me, but he himself is surprised that he has reached this far. And you notice his opponents. He had opponents before, but he's only one now for that matter. They are surprised too, because they thought it was just a little Cinderella thing, you know, where a guy come up and people love him and all that. So when they found out that this was for real, they're trying to hit back. But he's gone so far that it's not going to work. Because a design thing coming straight from the Supreme Father. And I don't see the Supreme Father as Christians say it's this man alone. I see the Supreme Father as representing everybody. Rastafari, Christians, Jews, Muslims, non-religious person, the animals, everything, you know. And that is how I see my Supreme Being. Some people call him God, some people align him to Selassie, some people align Jesus Christ to him, and so forth. It's not important what they align to him. He's a supreme being, and he's capable of adapting and appreciating the form of anything that is ascribed to him. And for that reason, I love him. And he has kept me.
Hold on. Tell me something. I could get a tad bit philosophical for a bit and delve a little deeper into your psyche right here. Is God a revengeful God? Or how does God mete out justice?
Yes, he's not. Probably the term is just. I mean, the term revengeful is a little bit strong. But the word justice is good. What justice means? Justice simply means if I had stolen something and I was taken before the elders to be tried, or in our case, the judges, and I was found guilty and was really guilty, then if it were 10 days with lashes in jail, then I should get it. That is how God also operates. He metes out justice. So therefore, if you work, you remain law-abiding, you carry out His will, you will get some justice for that, or complete justice for that. If you didn't take out His work and you behave badly, you go around the world murdering and killing people and all that stuff, you're going to be paid the same thing. Not that He will not forgive you, not that He doesn't love you, but what has kept His hand is that He has to invoke justice. And justice means that you deserve what you have worked for.
So if for example you're a murdering sociopath, a psychopath who's going around wreaking havoc and destruction against law-abiding and innocent people, then God have no problem with that person being killed then?
No, He doesn't have any problem. A man who is careless. I'm not talking about the man who is sick.
Right.
And he gets into a rage and does something to a member of his family and so on. And he's remorseful after that. A man who gets up every day, a woman who gets up every day, go there and murder people, willfully, children, old people. He knows, because you see him the next day driving a nice car. He's eating properly. He's focused. When you get him and talk to him, he's focused. You find out that he's not mentally deranged. That man is willful. Right? When God is dealing with that man, he's going to give him what he deserves. And that is a part of it too. Okay.
And God, I would imagine, has his emissaries that deliver his dictates and his wishes, right?
Of course, if you read Leviticus, what is it? No, and Romans. I think it's Romans 13:1 going down somewhere there. It tells you that a man who has gone out into the world to commit atrocity against others, committed these great sins, killing, murdering, stealing, right? God has put people there to make sure that he is properly brought before the elders or the judges, and all the evidence in a just way is given against him, right, or her, and found guilty. And after having gone through the whole ramification of appeal, of all this, then he is to face his judgment.
Okay. When we talk to people about Adams, there's an interesting thing that happened. Very few people, well, I have met, have a kind of nuanced and textured understanding of Renato de Cordova Valentina Adams. Most people, is either they really hate you and despise you and think you're the worst thing that Jamaica has ever seen, or they just love you and you can't do no wrong. And me hear people say, if Adam step up right now, me a march right behind him and me a defend him straight. There's some people, whatever. In other words, people say you're this kind of enigmatic figure, divisive in some way, and you're kind of hard to lock into any little box and say this is who Adams is. Given that reality out there, take the opportunity now to characterize yourself to the nation, and because are you misunderstood?
Sometimes I'm misunderstood. You see, we have a history where we were on the one side, they focused, and about slavery and all that stuff. So the slave owners in those days were so oppressive and destructive and so on, and people who did not do anything, and we have grown just the same. So some of us see authority right now, whether that authority was forceful, was revengeful, or was plain decent. We still have some suspicion of authority. Some people are like that, where I'm concerned. One good thing I can tell you about the people who would say something negative about me, they will tell you right now, say, listen, although we have this man, we respect him. We may not love him, but we respect him. And he's a man who is focused. You understand what he's doing, so either you stay in his way or get out of his way. You are given that option, you understand? And those who love me, they see me as, put it this way, colloquially speaking, they don't have any gunman protecting them. They see me, some tell me, you're my gunman. I mean, not to the true definition as a gunman, because my gunman is consistent with the law. The law gives me authority, gives me a moral turpitude and everything to make sure that I protect the Jamaican people. And I have put myself on the line, my life on the line, those of my family on the line, friends on the line. My job, I could have been sent to prison probably if there were evidence against me in protecting Jamaican people. And all that is in existence there. But they understand that, listen, this is a man we can trust. This is a man who has worked for us 41 years as a policeman. It's not easy because it worked out to about 82 years because a policeman works 24 hours a day. Never have duty unless he had a day off, a weekend or a few days leave. But you are always there. So me, I have done it. I have given my best of my life to the Jamaican people. Everybody.
Do you think Jamaica has or ever will, reach a point where they, where you could hear some form of official recognition that says, Renato de Cordova Valentina Adams has made an immense contribution to this country and we're going to recognize him for it and thank him for this. Do you think anything like that will ever happen?
No, probably here and there they may have a little function and a little session and all that. But officially, to have me written in history, that will be done in the next 200 years. Not long, because you know how they do it. People analyze you the next 200 years and say, let us look on this man. What did he achieve? Because sometimes, what you achieve is not readily visible, until you have 100 years to compare it and say, but listen, what this man was doing, what this man was saying, what this man was practicing, what this man was exemplifying in this country, it was something good. I feel I think that I have done sufficiently with to be awarded something now. But that is not important to me. You'll have seen our heroes. I mean, many of them in their time were sent to prison. Some were sent to the gallows. Some were humiliated and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, when history faces us, when the truth faces us, we have no alternative than to posthumously honor these people and to make sure that they were forever in history as our role models.
Okay. But within the context of those famous cases, for example, and the Brayton, the Crawl, etc.
Yeah.
Given that nobody is perfect, no human being is perfect.
Yes.
And I'm not asking you to incriminate yourself.
Yes.
And I know that I've listened to you speak, and I say people misunderstand it, but you're quite deft and quite smooth and quite perceptive. When you're answering questions, I actually think you're in terms of communication, you're quite skilled in many respects. But tell me the truth, where God love.
Yes.
And you're not incriminated. Do you think that you have actually made some very serious mistakes in your career, given that overall your intention was to do good, you hold Jamaica at the highest level, and you're out there defending the people who need to be defended? But within that framework, given that you're not perfect and you're a human being,
yes.
Do you think that you have made, along the way, the 41 years, that you have made some grave and serious mistakes that have resulted in devastating consequences for people that, in retrospect, you say, you know what, I did something wrong there?
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all, you see? No, not at all. Let me tell you, when you lead men, in my case, when the CMU was there, we had from between 50 and 100 men.
But people that listen to younger things say you're perfect. You had to have made some mistake.
No, hold on. I soon get to that.
Okay.
I soon get to that. I'm making a perspective to your question. All right. You lead men. Take, for instance, I say I went to number 10, Jomo Kenyatta Avenue. I can't be everywhere, You you circle a premises that you have intelligence. Intelligence that has been purified, in other words, means that you check it out, you are sure that what is there is what you are going there for. However, when a team of men, right, being said to the western side, something happened down there. You were not there. You go there and they report to you that this is the case. When you investigate, there is nothing contrary to say this wasn't the case. Irrespective of how severe it is, you, the leader, cannot run away now. You have to take responsibility, go by what they have said to you, and to live by that, continue to speak that until, if any evidence to the contrary was
presented
presented to the situation. I'm not saying that there are not many cases or many instances that we could not have approached it a little differently.
Right.
But, 2020 in hindsight is always the clearest vision. Policing, I do not have, like the man in the boardroom, in the bank, and so on, 24, 34, 100 hours to reflect and to analyze what action he's going to take in a particular matter. I have to do it at a moment's notice. People's lives are on the line, policemen, civilian, and even the suspects. Their lives are also on the line. But you have to take a decisive action. A policeman cannot run away. The police force cannot run away from adversity. I must tell you, and this is the truth I'm telling you, in addition to all the truths that I have said before, that I have gone to the brink between criminality and anarchy. What is the brink? That is that thin line between justice and injustice.
Right.
In other words, right on the border there, you have not gone over, but the law is severe.
Right.
If you listen to it the other day, you'll have heard that this policeman who was convicted for this Bulbe killing, right? The law specifically states that the policeman has authority to shoot and to kill in the line of duty a fleeing felon. And the case was taken to the appeal court, and they upheld it and say yes, and order retrial. This is what the law is, it is very extreme. Most people don't understand that the law is extreme. It is not compromising in all aspects. And if a policeman felt that his life was in danger, that is what the Constitution says. That is what the law says. That is what the interpretation is. That his life was in imminent danger of being snuffed out by some stupid element.
Right.
He has a right to defend that, and in the act of his response, someone was killed. Then you can't blame him at all.
Okay.
I have had instances like those. I'm telling you the truth. That is the case. I have never gone along with my men and instructed them to do otherwise. I must tell you the truth also that I suspect that some may have gone contrary to our plans and may have done things. But that is only in suspicion. I have to hold it in abeyance until somebody presents the evidence or I get the evidence.
Right.
I cannot go and say, listen, I don't believe what the policeman told me that he was attacked. I can't do that if I don't have evidence otherwise.
Right.
In war, you'll have seen in war, and let me tell you, this is not how I went about doing my duty. I'm just being pragmatic now and telling you a realistic observation. In war, most of the people die in war are not the soldiers or the enemies, But what at the end of the day, you go to war to save a country, to save a nation, to save a people, to save a civilization, and to make sure that, as it were in the beginning, at the end, we are preserved from criminal elements.
Listen, Mr. Adams, we run out of time, and it is always a pleasure talking with you and so forth. And we just want to say, as you look forward to retirement and knowing you and the drive that you have, we strongly suspect that we will see you in another arena, being involved in some way, form, or the other. But we wish you all the best, okay?
Thank you, and I want to just tell the Jamaican people, thanks the media, the police force, everybody in Jamaica. Everybody has played a part in my career. 41 years I've seen it. I just want to make an observation that those of us who have come, I have known, I'm like J. Edgar Hoover. I have known a lot of persons who are making it out to be as if they are the paragon of virtue. Right. I know where they are coming from. They have been involved.
Well, and it sounds like you say you know things about them where you not never boss, don't it?
Well,
I know say you have a whole heap of secret for a whole heap of people out there, Adam, a whole heap of things.
I am not saying I'm not a sinner too, you know. I'm not,
Adam, 1 second. We can just make the lady read the headline news and we'll come right back to you before we close. Good. All right. Yes, Simon, read the headline news and we'll come right back to Mr. Adams. Yeah, man, welcome back up in our Sinting, the real Jamaican Sinting with me, Mr. Washbelly Raga Shanti, and we're just about to continue and conclude our Talk Up the Things live interview this morning with Senior Superintendent of Police, Renato Adams, and we were at the point where, Adam, Soup, yeah. I just want to read a quick email with somebody sending here and thing. It says, "Good morning, Raga. I would like you to big up Mr. Adams for me. Him are the real big man. Mr. Adams set the trend and him make bad man put on them gun. And even for quat when them here say him a come. It is so sad that he will be putting down his weapon and not defending the Jamaican people. But who God bless, no man curse. And that me say." Right, yes. You should know that my listeners they're very comfortable with the Jamaican language, so you know them just write it as how them see it. But
yes,
I just wanted to share that with you. But you were on a point where you were saying that you have noticed, I've noticed that there are people out there who are positioning themselves as paragons of virtue and kind of juxtaposing themselves against you, I would imagine, and thing. And you were saying something about that, yeah.
Some of them have seen me and have. Some of them have seen me and have even propagated against me as if I'm a pariah. But I can tell you, 41 years I've seen them come. Mm-hmm. You know, some of them are the architect of criminality in this country. They have the blueprint and they're presenting all themselves and us now. Some in a high authority, and it's not only in the political arena.
Right.
Everywhere, the public sector.
So people out there right here now attack like said them are the goody two shoes and I criticize other people and I put them down. When they are the ones who have been very active in all kinds of criminality, right? They have been the chess players and I move people and I use people in some high level criminality and thing. And out there criticize people right now.
Right, no, perfectly, you're perfectly right. But I am exalting them. I'm exalting them to now come, show some love, you know, ask for forgiveness, make their actions public, and we are.
Oh, come on, no, Adam. You think they would ever do that? You think these are the type of people, the type of creatures who would do something like that?
Well, I think if their environment is set up, I suspect, you know. Like the Truth Commission in South Africa.
What do you think? We need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission here in Jamaica?
And all of us go there and say what we have done and we move on and ask for forgiveness.
Okay.
Some of us who committed ourselves in a particular way, one way or the other.
Right.
To those who must say sorry to them wife must say sorry to them husband.
Right.
And right down the line, politicians to politicians, doctors and to doctors, teachers to teach, police to police. All of us who have destroyed our one another. And, you know, get rid of this class thing to it. It's destroying Jamaica. Mm-hmm. We should be one class, man. If you know the quality of people who we call the lower class people, decent, law-abiding citizens. Some of the best girls, them down there, so. Some of the best girls, them down in the middle class, in this local class, there, so. Some of the best men. Some of the best opportunities. Every class has its own. But get rid of the class and Jamaica come back out of many. We are one people. And we go forward together.
All right, so listener, thank you again. But hear me now?
Yeah.
And we make that little link, the what the and thing and the vibes that it run nice. I don't see again.
Yes.
Yeah, hide out, man.
No.
So when we going to link again?
I will tell you. I will get in touch with you.
All right.
I will link up early, right?
All right, my dopes. All right. So just go on while I strength and we send enough respect in the retirement. And
everybody, I just want to say thanks for all the love and support. Even the anarchists, them out there and all them things there. You know, we're not going to totally reject them. We have to train them, we have to teach them, we have to set the example. I think if we start by setting the example for them, they will also come along and start to be good.
Well, Anna, just before you go, you ever go passa yet?
No, you know, I want to make it public now. You know, about 5 times I sent messages down there to ask if my presence would be accepted. I think on 3 of the occasions, I was told, yes, I am to talk to a particular person in the community there along with the police people down there. But I would love to come, and I am asking that an invitation be sent to me. That I am accepted. I mean,
but you know why I'm asking though, because I'm interested to know what is your present relationship with the Tivoli Gardens community.
Well, I have no problem with them. Who I have problem with is criminals. I don't have problem with decent, law-abiding citizens.
And you're saying saying that the majority of people in Tivoli are decent, law-abiding citizens.
99.9%.
Okay.
Women, children, older women. I have, that incident may have put a damper on it, but my intention, as it were at that time, were criminal elements, not decent, law-abiding citizens.
Okay.
And you see, I've coined their name, Tivoli.
Right.
So I coined that pronunciation because it sounds more lovely and more romantic.
Oh, it sounds more lovely and more romantic.
Yes.
Tivoli. Tivoli. So what you say? If Tivoli Gardens say no, we're not a problem with it, come a passa and thing and whatever, you would have forward.
Of course, surely. Like I told you, I've asked. I spoke to when Superintendent Daly was there, Harry Daly, and the present superintendent, another officer there, and I have been encouraged, but I need some more substance.
Okay. I think it would be good for the nation if, symbolically speaking, and because I have actually talked to you about it. I don't know if you remember when we did.
Yes, man.
When we did that at a certain place, I beat some juice and things. I said, no, probably on some level you could have a reason with the TG people, and because enough TG people them feel like say, boy, you are the ultimate, you commit the ultimate wrong against them. You feel say them not really understand what they do. I just think say, passa, ends like that. Probably.
Funnily, you wouldn't believe how many calls I get from there who thought I do the ultimate to protect them also.
Oh, Zin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I'm not going to call names.
No, we understand. We understand that.
I'm not lying. I'm telling you that I have received feedback there that, that is quite encouraging.
All right.
But like I said, I'm a professional. When I do my work in the day, I go home not thinking that I went deliberately to hurt anyone. No, not at all. I just did a job. I was sent there to a particular location, and incidentally, some lunatic made the thing worse than we had intended. And that's history now. We move on, and at the end of the day, we should live together again.
All right then. Me a Wally Pap in the back of you. Where you there?
Huh?
I hear a Wally Pap in the back of you. Where you there?
Wally Pap in the schoolyard right now. Have them fun day. I'm not going to identify where.
Okay, that's all right.
I don't want when I go drive out any misguided person come and check with me and I don't want to make no trouble at the front of the people.
Right. Me understand. And a picnic too. The Wally Pap look a picnic them when I want a look a drama there or something. Yeah, me know. What we say, strength and protection, strength to the link, and just go through and do your thing. All right.
Love, sir.
I take care. We met that link there. Yeah.
Love, sir.
Proper thing.